Hello. Is that Rainy?
This is a Rainy. Is this a Lolly?
It's Lolly. Welcome to the party today, my friend. Oh, girl, I got a juicy story for you today.
It's great.
And the great news is there is no stabbings, no blood, no gunshots, no death.
Oh, people might be disappointed.
Well, all you sick fuckers out there, just bear with me on this one, all right? Because we can't cover murder every single day.
That's right. We've got to just, have the odd little scandal here and there.
We're still exploring the dark corners of the world, and they don't all have to involve death. But I will tell you, today's story involves a pretty hefty garbage man.
Ooh!
Yeah.
I'll tell you, we do love our garbage men around here.
We do. And this one, look, there was no death of the physical body, but this guy certainly inflicted death of people's souls and livelihoods and just crushed a lot of people. So equally as bad.
He sounds like trash.
He is an absolute piece of garbage. All right, without further ado, guys, we're going to jump right into this bad boy. Strap on in.
Woo!
Rainy, we are going to Hollywood, baby.
Yes.
Los Angeles. Now, this is a dazzling city where dreams are chased under that shimmering California sun, and those palm trees, they sway to the rhythm of ambition. For up-and-coming actors, this is not just a place. This is a vibrant tapestry of opportunity, creativity, and where countless stories are waiting to be told. And you are surrounded by iconic studios, legendary theatres, and a community of passionate storytellers. But look, can I just add my 2 cents here? I lived in Los Angeles with my husband who was chasing his acting dreams, and I will also add that Los Angeles is a cesspit of desperation, baby. With homeless people every which way you look, there are crackheads and heroin needles and a river of human waste streaming down Hollywood Boulevard. All right? And I'm not going back. But that's just me.
Fair enough.
But for Zach Horwitz, he was ready to make the big move to the City of Angels, and he was prepared to give it all he had to chase his dreams of fame and stardom.
Come on, Zachy boy.
So in 2011, Zach and his girlfriend Mallory and their golden retriever Lucy, they packed up their car and he packed up his hopes and dreams, and they made the cross-country trek to Los Angeles, where he would pursue his dream of becoming a world-famous actor.
I mean, who doesn't do that?
Oh, seriously, guys, don't do it. So to make it in Hollywood, Rainy, there's definitely a few ingredients that you need to really bring this recipe to life. You got to have talent, all right? Look, it's probably quite far down on the list, but you want to have some talent. You got to have connections. You got to network. You got to know people. And you got to look the part. And for Zach, he definitely had 2 of these. He knew people and he looked the part. All right, but this guy fucking sucked. But that wasn't going to stop it. And by 2019, this guy seemed to have it all. He was starring in films. He was living in a $6 million mansion. He had $600,000 worth of luxury cars, designer clothes, designer watches. He was making it.
Sounds it.
Underneath it all, this guy was a dirtbag, a piece of shit, and he was actually running one of Hollywood's biggest Ponzi schemes in the history of Ponzi schemes.
I mean, look, he sounds pretty clever to me.
I'm not going to lie. I actually moved to Los Angeles the same time as he did, and I worked the shittiest jobs, guys. I was freaking printing t-shirts. I was waitressing. I was doing shitty jobs. And at the end of it all, I had a suitcase of clothes to show for it. So look, I don't blame him. I kind of regret my decision. I wish I joined him. But look, Rainy, what goes up must come down. And in 2019, the cracks were forming and this guy was about to freaking implode and lose everything along with his 250 investors But we're going to get back to that, and we're going to go right back to the start, and we're going to learn about Zachary Horwitz.
Zach, your boy, you big fuckwit.
All right, Rainey, we're going to go back. We're going to go right back to the start where Zachary first began to dream about becoming a big famous actor. Zach was born in December 1986, so he's Saggy. Is that Sagittarius? We'll just say it is.
Well, we're a Sagittarius.
December 5th.
Yeah, so Saggy starts, it's debatable between 22nd, 23rd of November. Saggy.
Okay, so he's a Saggy, and he was originally from California, but he moved to Indiana with his parents. They separated, and he was just living with his mom, his sister, and eventually his stepdad. Look, pretty boring upbringing, but he was kind of popular at high school. In his yearbook, he was voted best body.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, but also like weird.
That is a bit weird. Imagine a female best body. I mean, gross. Not going to happen.
Yes, look, he was kind of popular. He played a little bit of football. And then one trip away with his sister and his mum, he went to a little theatre show. And he was so mesmerised by these actors. And he just couldn't get it out of his head. How amazing that you can do this for a job. You can get up on stage, you can pretend to be somebody else and get paid for it. So he returned back to Indiana, and again, the dream was just brewing away, just bubbling away in his little tiny brain. He began to watch movies, memorize lines. The dream was blossoming. But Zach's mom squashed that dream pretty quickly and said, nah, listen, son, you need to get your education. You need to take your education seriously. And unfortunately for Zach, those dreams were buried quite deep, and he put his head down and continued to study. Good one, Mom.
I was going to say, controlling mama bear in the house, yeah?
Well, Mum, I believe, was a teacher, so she was all about education. So, look, to be fair, if you do want to pursue acting, you've got to really come to terms with the fact that you're probably not going to make it. Did you know, statistically, only 2% of actors, performers, can actually make a living of doing their craft? 2%, not meaning like 2% will make it to the level of big-time actors, but 2% of actors will actually be able to pay their day-to-day week-to-week bills. So it's very sad.
It is sad.
And look, I have an actor living in this household. He happens to be my husband. And yeah, it's pretty fucking dry out there, guys. All right, tumbleweeds are rolling on by. It's tough.
Well, you get upset with it.
No, it's just the reality of it. Like, you book jobs and then you don't book jobs.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel like it's one of those industries where you can't just go and get an education and then go and get a job. You have to rely on a lot of other people to make it in the world of acting. And you also have to be thirsty for it. You got to suck the dick, guys. And my husband ain't no dick sucker.
And you've also got to have a very thick skin because it is the land of rejection.
That's right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of dick suckers out there, Lolly.
Rainey, there are dick suckers galore. My husband definitely is not one of those. He's more into wearing those tinfoil hats and going down those rabbit holes.
A lot cleaner doing that.
He loves his craft, but he's not prepared to sacrifice who he is morally. And look, yeah, you got to give it to him.
Morally and sexually.
That's right, morally and sexually. He is just not going to be sucking dicks. And I love that about him, you know? I'll suck it for you, babe.
Come on, Daddy.
I'm taking it for the team, baby. So Zach was entering college. He was going to become a psychologist. So he started his first year of psychology and he was making friends. He was getting through it just fine. But honestly, that acting dream was just bubbling down in the root chakra. He really wanted to be an actor. In college, he would meet his sweetheart, Mallory, and she really was in awe of Zach. He was just such a sweet guy, but he was a real go-getter. He had big plans in life, but he did actually keep the acting a secret from her. She didn't really know at this point. He was more into the psychology. He also had some plans and some dreams of being a business owner, an entrepreneur. He was all about business, baby. But look, Rainey, when you're not pursuing your real passion and your real dream, the dream doesn't just go away. It still keeps rearing its head going, yoo-hoo, remember me? And for Zach, he really just couldn't shake the feeling that he was going to be somebody. He was going to be an actor. So almost a year into psychology, he just thought, you know what, I cannot do this anymore. So he drops out. He starts to dibble and dabble and some improv, a little bit of theatre here and there. Mallory becomes aware, oh, cool, he wants to be an actor, but in her eyes, it's more of a hobby. So he's doing a little bit of acting. He's just testing the waters, but he's also still pursuing the hopes and dreams of becoming an entrepreneur. Zach finds himself at a small business convention. Zach now has a new dream of opening a juice bar.
Well, I guess back then it's probably the latest craze, right?
Yes, exactly. He was at this small business convention and he had the opportunity to pitch this business idea to a Howard Schultz. Now, Rainey, you wouldn't know who Howard Schultz is because I didn't, so therefore you probably wouldn't. But Howard Schultz is actually the founder and CEO of Starbucks.
Wow. I mean, that is someone to pitch an idea to.
That is an opportunity. He also has another company that invests in food startups as well. So that's why he had this opportunity to pitch this juice bar idea to Howard Schultz. This is like the ultimate person you could pitch an idea to.
Oh, absolutely.
Rainey, Howard, I mean, he was impressed.
Wow.
And he wanted to potentially go national, potentially go global with this business idea.
Holy shit. I mean, I have to hear this idea.
Well, this is the idea, Rainey. Zach was going to open a juice bar. That's it, loves.
Is that it?
That's it. It's as easy as that.
Oh, was there no juice bars around?
I don't know. I actually don't know. But no, look, he was going to open up this juice bar. It was going to be very healthy food. It was going to be fast, casual, so you could come in and order a healthy takeaway meal. It was going to be called Fuel. It wasn't spelled fuel the usual way because obviously fuel was taken, so it's you, F-U with the 2 dots above it. Sorry, guys.
Smiley face.
It's the you smiley face. All right. Zach couldn't do this on his own, so he went to one of his very, very good buddies, Jake Wunderlin, and pitched this idea. He told him how Howard was involved, and this was a friggin' massive opportunity. Jake literally had to pick his jaw up off the floor because this was going to be like the next Starbucks, but the juice healthy food version.
Absolutely.
They went to Chicago, so he packed up everything. Jake quit his job, and they trekked out to Chicago. They found a lease. They opened up their very first Fuel.
Excitement.
Mallory was so proud of her boyfriend. Oh, my God, he was going to make it. And she was working at the restaurant. Jake and Zach had given themselves titles of CEO and CFO. Howard was checking in regularly to see how things were going. And he was really impressed. And Rainey, the offers were coming in. Howard had drafted up this offer of investing in Fuel, ready to go national, and he was going to invest $30 million.
Shut the front juicy door.
Oh, I know. And Zach and Jake, they're frothing at the bit. Or is it frothing at the tit? I don't know. They are just like, this is amazing. But unfortunately, Rainey, the deal fizzled out.
Oh, no.
I know. And things didn't pan out. And unfortunately, Howard could no longer invest in Fuel.
That's devastating.
Jake was beside himself. He couldn't believe it. He had given up everything. And the way things were going, they weren't really able to afford to keep running because, to be honest, no one really came to Fuel. The Yelp reviews were quite bad, and sometimes people would show up and the doors would be shut. The people weren't even there. The lights were off. This place was a friggin' shambles. It wasn't going well, but Howard still saw potential in Zach, and he wanted to keep working with Zach. Howard drafted up a new contract.
He offered him a job to be a barista.
That's right. $12 an hour. He wanted Zach to come and work for him to be part of his entrepreneur outreach program. So this company is called Mavron, and he offered Zach a really amazing deal to come out to scout new talent. So going out to colleges and campuses, kind of similar to how Zach went to the small business convention. So looking out for new talent, new business opportunities. Zach's pretty excited. He goes home, he sits down with his girlfriend, Mallory. They go over the contracts. And the only catch is they have to move to Los Angeles. Mallory at the time, she had studied hairdressing, so there wasn't really anything keeping her. She was also making juices. Los Angeles sounds pretty exciting. As we mentioned at the beginning of our story, New Year's Eve, Zach, Mallory, and their dog, they pack up all their things and they head to Los Angeles. Oh, it's an exciting time.
It's so exciting.
With any new move, interstate, new city, there comes challenges. You know, you've got to find your way around. You've got to make new friends. It took a while for them to settle in. Mallory, she actually gets back into pursuing her dreams as a hairstylist, and she's really good. She actually gets a really good job working in a salon and starts working with celebrity clients. So, girl, she is doing well. Go,
great.
Mallory. Zach is super, super busy. He is working a lot. Mallory isn't seeing him all the time. He's always frigging at work. He becomes quite stressed. It wasn't uncommon for them to be out in social settings and Zach to be pulled away because Howard needed to talk to him. He's sending emails all the time. Zach did start to drink a little too much. He started to turn to some Xanax and some Adderall to really help him cope with the workload. It was a lot. Mallory, she was worried, but Howard would contact her and just say, I know it's a lot, but this will all balance out as just the initial workload and him finding his feet, and he's doing really, really well. So she was really proud of him because he's working for Howard Schultz.
That is incredible.
Business is going well. He's doing a really great job. Howard and Zach become super, super close. As mentioned, they're talking all the time. He is really finding his feet in his role with Mavron. He's getting paid really well. He's doing great. Mallory's doing really great too. But, Rainey, I need you to take a seat for a moment.
Oh, I'm here, girl.
Because I'm gonna blow your brains with this one. Howard Schultz
started sucking his dick. Sorry.
No, there was no dick sucking because Howard Schultz doesn't actually know Zach Horwitz because Zachary Horwitz was Howard Schultz.
Oh, no.
Every piece of communication, every email, every contract, every text was all fabricated. Zach had made it all up. He'd made up the juice bar contract. He'd made up the interest in running a franchise. He had made up the contracts to move to LA. And Rainey, all of this was to disguise the fact that Zach was desperate to move to LA to be an actor.
That is just such an effort. Like, you go and open some dive juice bar in Chicago. Why don't you just go straight to LA?
I don't know. And I will tell you, I know that we've covered some hefty pathological lies, but this takes the cake. I honestly don't even know how this guy didn't explode into a million pieces because the lies were just bursting at the seams. Can you imagine? Poor Mallory, she's just following along like a puppy dog, and all the while, Rainey, he's been going to work. He's been going to audition camps. He's been going, honestly, he's been going to acting classes. He's been trying to get auditions and he's trying to mingle. And look, Rainey, it wasn't going very well because, quite frankly, Zach sucked.
It reminds me about that girl we lived with in Auckland. She was going to forensic scientist school, but she was at Les Mills and she took a bag with her. I was like, we know you got your gym shoes in there, bitch.
She also worked at Mac Makeup across the road from where I was working. We lived together and she would say she was off to go do her forensic psychology, scientific, whatever she was doing. And I'd get to work and I'd be like, but you're right there. We've just dropped a massive bomb and this guy has been lying out of his butthole. He's been going to acting classes. He's been going to auditions. He's very bad. Now, you know when you watch a show and there's actors that are, like, they're good. There's actors that are really good that you don't think about it, but then there's actors that are so bad and you're like, I feel so uncomfortable watching you.
Yeah, I know. It's awkward. He must have been good at some sort of acting. He acted out this whole lie.
Well, what I've learned is that acting and lying aren't actually the same thing.
Oh.
Which you would think he would be really good at acting because he was so good at lying, but it just turns out he was just really good at lying. He was trying to do the movies. It wasn't working. So he decides to change tacks, loves. He decides that he really needs to start networking because the talent alone wasn't getting him the role. So he was ready to schmooze and rub shoulders with the right people.
Absolutely.
One day, Zach meets brothers Julio and Diego Halavis. They are up-and-coming directors. They've made a few short films, and they are really keen to partner with Zach and create a little production company. Julio and Diego are so impressed because Zach is really good friends with Howard Schultz.
Amazing.
These guys are going to create a company. They call it 1 in MM. stands for 1 in a million. And these guys are basically going to create sci-fi, horror, thriller films. It's essentially a production company. Julio and Diego are going to direct. Zach is going to start financing these films, and he's also going to star in these films. It's a great partnership. It works out for everyone. Zach also creates a new name, and Zach Avery was born. So we've got Zach Horwitz, the businessman entrepreneur, and then we've got Zach Avery, the actor. Things were kind of rolling along. They made a couple of awkward short films, but Rainey, there is actually a big win for 1&MM, and in 2011, these guys create a partnership with a Gustavo Why do we get these names that are so awkward to say? Why can't it be George Smith? Gustavo Montadon. I apologize, Gustavo. But he's actually a Hollywood executive. He worked with 20th Century Fox for like 2 decades, so he is a real deal. This person is not made up, guys. I know there's a few blurred lines here. And what they're going to do is they're going to start buying these cheap movies. They're going to buy the rights to these movies, and then they're going to license these films to companies like Netflix, HBO, and Sony. Wow. And they're going to distribute them into Latin America. This is the business model. The Hollywood media, they caught wind of this. So there are some published articles about these guys creating this partnership and what they are looking to do in the industry. This is a big win. Zach's starring in some of his shitty short films, and now his little company is actually making a little bit of traction in the movie business.
Yes, baby.
Zach is excited. He wants to bring in his mate, Jake Wonderland, the guy that he fucked over with the juice bar. And just side note, Jake doesn't actually know any of this stuff at this point, that Howard's not real. But he goes to see Jake and he wants to let him in on a little deal. He's bought the rights to this Mexican rom-com, and Sony wants the film.
Oh.
He needs Jake to give him $37,000. And in 3 months, he will make a $9,000 return.
It's not that good.
Sounds pretty good. Oh, all relative, isn't it? So Jake's feeling like a little apprehensive because he did, lose out on the juice bar.
It's like $9,000.
3 months though. That's $3,000 a month extra. It's pretty good.
Well, it is, but his friends fucked him over.
He thinks Howard's fucked him over.
True.
Good one, Howard. He's got the money in an account, but it's all his savings. And he does say to Zach, "This is all I have, bro." And
Fair.
Zach says, "Don't worry, I promise you, you will get your money back. And if you don't, I will sell my assets and I'll pay you back." Jake's thinking, done deal. So he hands over the money, and Rainey, in 3 months, he gets his $9,000.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised.
This is a good opportunity, man. He's
Great
stoked.
opportunity.
Jake, he wanted more. So Jake got a few friends together, Joe, Matthew, and Tyler, and they are chatting about this incredible opportunity. And they decide to all pitch in. And this time, they're all going to invest on a bigger movie, a bigger budget, so they get bigger returns. So they all put in, and they quietly wait. Months go by, and then boom, daddy.
Yes.
In comes the cash. These guys get a big return. The business model was that when you invest, essentially you're funding the film. Zach has these films. I give Zach $50,000 to help fund the film. The film gets made, and then now we have a $50,000 film. We sell the rights to that film to Netflix or HBO, and they buy it from me for like $150,000. So now there's a $100,000 profit, so we can now distribute that profit to our investors.
Sounds good.
It sounds friggin' amazing. Zach was promising returns of up to 30 to 45%. This is really good returns. And you're seeing the returns every sort of 3, 6, or 12-month period. It's not a long, you don't have to invest your money for 10 years. You're going to see returns pretty quickly. Jake, Joe, Matthew, and Tyler are frothing at the tit or the bit. And they decide they're going to go all in, Rainey.
Do it.
They're going to go all in. They quit their jobs in the investment finance banking world, and they create JJMT Capital. So that stands for Jake, Joe, Matthew, and Tyler. And these guys are going to go all in, work full time at recruiting investors to fund these movie projects.
Wow.
Holy goddamn.
They have just found a little nest egg.
They've stumbled across the hidden treasures. Also, I'll add, it's pretty exciting to be like, yeah, I work in the movie business.
Absolutely.
Like, this is enticing. This is appealing. They were beginning to start to work with their inner circle. So friends, family, they were beginning to invest. Jake's parents had actually invested half of their retirement money. You've got one of the other guys, his widowed retired mother put up all of her savings. So everyone's like, hell yeah, let's see these big returns. For Zach, he is loving life. Business is booming. He begins to really live the high life. Over the next few years, he would star in a few films. Look, I'll get into some of these movie roles a little later, but he does actually begin to find his way on the set of some big movies, including Fury, you know, that really depressing war film with Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh my God, I saw it. And that film is horrific. And I remember walking out of there a shell of a person. It was horrendous. Yeah. Anyway, look, Zach's doing great. To be fair, he was just like an extra. Blink and you miss him kind of vibes. He married his college sweetheart, Mallory, in a lavish wedding at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills. These guys, they were traveling on private jets. They bought a $6 million home near Beverly Hills. I mean, this place had a swimming pool, a theatre, a gym. He's doing well. For Mallory's 30th birthday.
Oh, they're young.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, for Mallory's
Holy shit.
Yeah, for Mallory's 30th birthday, Zach even hired Miguel to go and sing at her birthday at a dinner at the Nice Guy in West Hollywood. The money's pouring in. The money is pouring in, but the profits are rolling out as well. And JJMT Capital, they are bringing in the millions at this stage. So over the next few years, these guys would be bringing in millions and millions of dollars. Magical. Within the first few years of 1MM running this business, they had made 0 losses. Every single film that they funded was being picked up by Netflix, HBO, Sony, and other streaming services. Because you got to remember, this is at a time where streaming was starting to be like the big thing, right? We're phasing out the old TV film models, and streaming is the new big thing. So Zach really got in at the beginning phase. And in 2017, he starts a new business. He starts Rogue Black. And Rogue Black, another production company, and Rainey, this is where he would begin to pour millions and millions and millions, $20 million to be exact, into Rogue Black to fund movies.
Jesus.
And this is where Zach would finally get his big break, because the movies that he was funding, they would all have a place for him to star in, baby.
Absolutely. And look, fair enough if he was talented, you know?
Yeah, but he wasn't talented, so
That's right.
And this is the only way he could get a part that wasn't a background extra. Look, he's starting to make some traction in the movie world. He is finding his way on set. Yes, he's paying for the films to be in them, but he is starring along stars like Olivia Munn.
Who's that?
I love it. Samara Weaving.
Nope.
Nope. Brian Cox.
Nope.
They're working actors. They're in the 2%. There are some reviews about what it was like to work with Zach, and also some of these, movie reviewers. So I want to read you some of the highlights of the things that I found on his acting. We'll start with one of his acting peers, his colleagues. He said, he is the worst actor. Sorry. He is the worst actor I've ever met. Being on set with him was like filming with a banana.
Burn.
A director said filming with him, it was like dealing with a dead horse. Some of the movie reviewers said he delivered such a dull, unappealing performance that the movie had a void at its center. And my favorite, Zach Avery's acting is like cancer to this movie. Every time he was on screen, this film died a little more.
Ooh.
Deep burn, baby. I'm sure that Zach was definitely hurt by all of this, but he probably was using his $100 bills to wipe his tears up. Mallory, she was doing really well with her hairstyling. She actually was a celebrity stylist at this point. And this is not an easy industry to break into, but she became pregnant. They were really, really excited. And Zach was like, listen, honey, I want you to just quit your job and just be a stay-at-home mom. Okay. He's making films, he's doing interviews, he's also hired a publicist. Let's take this to the next new level. His publicist is creating stories of his background, his success, and he's getting more online interviews, publications. There's some photos floating around. There's one of him with Julio and Diego at the Golden Globes, but it turns out that they actually just went to an after party and quickly ran over to the red carpet and took some photos. I mean, so lame. JJMT Capital, thriving.
Booming.
Jake cannot believe his luck. At one point, Zach has gone down to see him in Chicago. They've had a big family dinner. Jake gets up to make an announcement, a ting, ting, ting. He just wants to thank Jake, and he says, Jake, you have changed my life. You have changed my wife's life, and you've changed my children's life. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. He just cannot believe his luck. Now, in 2017, we would also see a new group of investors coming in to invest in these films. We have Jim Russell. He works in the steel industry. He's been recruited from a friend, and he's thinking, this just seems a little bit too good to be true. So he is wanting to invest, but he is wanting to do his due diligence. So he wants to see some financial statements. He wants to see the transfer of funds heading to Netflix, HBO, Sony, and vice versa. Jim's friend is like, I'll get the paperwork, but dude, this is the goose that lays the golden egg. You need to friggin' invest in this, man. You're going to miss out. His friend goes back to Zach, and Zach's like, I don't need his money, man. This is highly confidential. I'm not allowed to disclose any of the agreements that I have in place with HBO, Netflix, and Sony, so I'm just not going to send you that. So he can either take my word for it or he can hit the highway. Jim is just feeling a little uneasy, so he wants to meet with Zach. So he flies to Los Angeles and he meets with Zach at the Four Seasons. These guys, they have a little dinner. Zach, he's not worried. Zach, remember, he's an actor.
Showtime, baby.
He sits down, does a little schmoozing, talks about all of his deals. And Zach, he does a really great job at putting Jim's nerves at ease, and they shake hands and Jim is ready to invest. And he flies back to Las Vegas. He initially invests about $500,000, the same as Jake, Joe, Matthew, and Tyler. The guys in Vegas also start their own company. They call it the Movie Fund Incorporated, and similar business model. They are going to be recruiting investors to invest in these films. Over the next couple of years, the Vegas group would bring in around $80 million.
Fuck me.
But this would be pittance in comparison to JJMT, who had brought in almost $500 million.
No, they didn't. What, from investors?
This business venture had brought in $690 million within 5 years.
That has $37,000 from his original investment. His life savings.
Yeah, he's done very well. So they'd pulled in $690 million. So this is people putting in all of their money and they're all seeing returns. So these companies, so JJMT and also the Business Movie Fund in Las Vegas. So what they're doing is they're skimming money off the top of the profit. So let's say there's a 30% return on the movie. They are going to pay the investors 20% profit and they're going to keep 10%. So everyone's making millions. All right, there is millions and squillions just floating around everywhere.
Wow.
2019, $690 million later. Thanksgiving. So around November, don't know when Thanksgiving is, I'm from New Zealand. Cracks begin to form.
I mean, how? This sounds so legit.
Because all of a sudden, these profit payments would stop for the first time in 5 years.
Ooh.
JJMT and the Movie Fund, and look, to be fair, probably some other small-time investors as well are starting to think, well, that's strange. Where is my money?
Yeah.
Zach reassures everyone, don't worry, there is a little hiccup, a little bump in the road. Currently, Netflix is being audited, so they've got to cease their spending, their investing, their payments, and also HBO is having a reconfiguration of its operations, so things are going to be paused at the moment.
I mean, what are the chances at the exact same time?
Who would have thought? The investors are thinking, look, don't worry, don't stress. They send out an email, a letter to their investors saying, this is what's happening. They're showing all of the records of emails, documents from HBO, Netflix, everything's fine. So they're like, you know what? We trust this guy. We have made so much money from this dude. Nothing to worry about.
Right. Sometimes you just got to get out when the times are good, you know?
Like, how much money do you need?
Been a good time. I'm going to tap out while it's good because you never know what's around the corner.
But I suppose you're like, if you invest money, you just leave it there, right? Like shares, Bitcoin. Months go by and there's still no payments. And remember, this works on like those cycles, 3, 6, 12 months. His friend, Jake Wonderland, is getting a little worried. So Jake and Joe from JJMT, they fly to Los Angeles, pay Zach a little visit. They're like, dude, people are getting really worried. So they go into his house. Zach is very cool, calm and collected. He's like, guys, don't panic. Come in, sit down. I'll show you some documents. They go through thousands of emails and contracts. Everything's legit. These guys have invested in so many movies. Everything's there. They're like, okay, cool. There's nothing to worry about. This is just one of those things. Zach's hands are tied. He can't do anything about it. He's dealing with these massive corporations and he's just one of the small fish in this huge pond. Netflix, HBO, Sony, they've got a lot of things, a lot of movies, a lot of celebrities, a lot of production companies they're dealing with. So Jake goes back, Joe goes back. They send out more letters. Don't panic. Everything's fine. Letting their investors know what's going on. Jim, he's getting really stressed because he's like, what the hell's going on?
Fair enough.
We are rolling into 2020. We all know what's coming.
The cold.
The cold. Zach is quite lucky because he also can use COVID as a reason as to why things are going so poorly, because this literally stopped the whole world in its tracks. So he's like, what am I supposed to do? Mallory has also just popped out another baby. So he's a new dad. COVID's happening, lockdowns, the world's in panic. All of these investors, they just need to calm their goddamn farm. Like, can you not?
Right.
Just chill out. Zach owes JJMT, sit down, loves, $165 million.
Oh!
He also owes the Vegas group, so Jim and his buddies, over $8 million.
No, that is a lot.
And Rainey, before we start to really get into the unraveling of all of this, I have more bombs to drop on you. I'm just dropping bombs all over you, baby. That sounds really bad. As we discovered earlier, the juice bar, the investor, Howard Schultz, the entrepreneurial investment, I'm fucking drunk. I've had half a glass of wine. I'm cooked. The job opportunity with Mavrom, it was all lies. Or Rainey, the business venture with buying films, distributing them to Netflix, HBO, and Sony was once again a big, fat, diddly lie.
Fuck off.
None of it was real.
What?
None of it was real. Not
oh my God.
1 ounce of it, Rainey. None of it was real.
Where's the money coming from?
Well, the investors are putting the money in, but Zachary was running a Ponzi scheme, baby. A Ponzi scheme is where you have someone investing money into a company. So Brian or Jim or Jake, whoever it is investing money into a film. And then Zach is taking that money and then he's going and giving it as profit to Jim. So all of these people that are investing money, he's taking all of that money and then giving it to the other investors to make it look like they're making returns. So this helps to grow the Ponzi scheme. So you're taking money from Paul to pay Peter.
Oh my God.
Yes.
600 and what?
$90 million. So at the same time as all this money is coming in to invest for these movies that aren't real, he's skimming it all off the top. So he's buying himself mansions, he's going private jets, he's paying for his movie career. He's using people's retirement money to pay for him to make movies, to buy luxury watch subscriptions, to pay $700,000 for celebrity interior designers, for luxury cars. He is living the high life of people's hard-earned money.
It's very, very sad, but this guy's a genius.
It is incredible.
Oh my God.
So what happens with the Ponzi scheme is it can continue to maintain itself until there are no more investors. So obviously things were slowing down, and because this thing got so big, he just didn't have the funds to keep paying people. I don't know how he did it. This guy's such a dweeb. Like this guy looks like such a knob. He's got no background in finance.
This is insane.
He must have just been like a friggin' mess on the inside. But as all of this is beginning to unravel, Rainey, he is out there doing interviews on people's podcasts, on YouTube. You can watch him literally as this thing is beginning to crumble. He is on these interviews talking about his films, talking about how he's made it in the industry and his hard road to success. In one interview, this is just so cringe. Someone asked him, what would you tell your 14-year-old self? And he says, oh gosh, it's such a tough one, but I'd tell him that everything happens for a reason and everything's going to be all right, kid. You just keep doing what you're doing. It's like, oh my God.
Was that advice to himself?
I don't know. Everything happens for a reason.
Oh, wow.
So Jim is getting really pissed. He is getting his lawyers on board because Jim's got a lot of money. So the Vegas group tend to have a lot of people that just have a lot of money. They do investments. That's what they do. Whereas Jake and the boys, they've really roped in a lot of just normal people that have worked their whole lives and they've got their retirement fund and they've invested it into this company. Jim's lawyer actually begins to contact Netflix. They are writing letters to Netflix to demand payment. They have included the contracts, so 20-page contracts with 1MM and Zach Horwitz and all the rights to these movies, and they send all of the email communication between Zach and Netflix lawyers because he had sent all of this to the guys to keep them from freaking out. So Zach had sent them all this email communication with Netflix, with HBO. Zach's demanding payment. HBO's like, we're really sorry. We're doing our best. This is what's going on. Jim's lawyers send all this off and they get a response from Netflix saying, we have absolutely no idea who 1MM is. We have never heard of Zach Horwitz. This representative from Netflix does not exist. This person does not work at Netflix. And it takes Jim's lawyers 24 hours to establish that this is a Ponzi scheme. 24 hours, one day. This thing was running for 5 years. And when someone finally decided to look into it to see if it was real, it took them 24 hours.
Obviously, they've got this contract going to a lawyer. Why would the lawyer not just do a little bit of digging before they've gone and spent all this money?
Honestly, I don't know. I really do not know what happened because it wasn't like it was one person. There's multiple people that are supposedly doing their due diligence. On the other side of the country, you've got JJMT freaking out. They've got all of their investors banging on their doors going, where is my money? They contact Zach again. Zach is assuring them, guys, the money's starting to come in. He has a account management firm called Freeway Entertainment that actually holds the funds and the money is coming in. Zach is sending them documents with figures, account numbers, all of the legit looking information. Jake and Joe are like, let's call Freeway Entertainment and get our money then. So they call Freeway Entertainment. They disclose the account number, Zach Horwitz, the company name, and they're like, sorry, who? We don't know who you're talking about. And at this point, they realize that, okay,
they've been duped.
JJMT, they contact the FBI. Netflix, on the other hand, they send Zach and 1MM a cease and desist letter and say, you guys need to back off and stop telling lies. So Zach's obviously shitting his pants.
Did no one search to watch one of these movies?
I think that Zach was actually just looking for all of this information online and stealing it all and putting it under the disguise that he was responsible. For example, some of the lawyers from Netflix, if you looked at the email communication, it was all from legit Netflix emails. It all had the logos. If you looked up these people on LinkedIn, it said that they worked at Netflix. The 20-page contracts between Netflix and HBO, they were all legit because they were all stolen. Zach managed to find these documents online and just change some of the information.
Damn.
It's unbelievable what you can get away with.
What about his business partners, though? Were they on it?
Julio and Diego have been cleared. They said they knew nothing about any of this, but we're going to get into all that in a moment. We go back to no payments beginning from around Thanksgiving. In 2019, finally, April the 6th, 2021. Still no money's been paid in all that time. Mallory, she's sleeping, laying in bed next to her successful movie star husband and their 3-year-old daughter. She's recently had a new baby. The baby's in the nursery and they're just peacefully sleeping away. And then all of a sudden, FBI, motherfucker!
Oh, it's them again.
They hear a goddamn
freeze, motherfucker!
boom at the door. Mallory leaps out of bed. She runs to get the baby. The baby's startled. The baby's crying. Mallory God knows why, goes to open the door, baby in hand, and to her shock horror, the friggin' FBI are standing there, guns drawn, screaming for Zach Horwitz. Old Zachary, dumb diddly dickhead, comes strolling down the stairs, shirt off. He takes a little seat on the step. And he says to the FBI, "Can I put a shirt on?" They say, "No, you dickhead." They arrest him and they put him in the back of a cop car, shirtless, and they drive this dickhead down to the station. Mallory is thinking, what? This is all a lie. 10 years, probably more than 10 years, but she's moved to LA 10 years ago. Mallory thought that everything was as legit as these investors. So they arrest Zach for security fraud. They put him in prison. 2 weeks later, he makes bail. His mother posts $1 million for him to get out of prison. I mean,
Wow.
Mum, I think Zach needs to learn a little lesson. At this point, all of the investors, there is 250 people total. As mentioned, there is $690 million that was invested. What I will add is that a lot of the money was reinvested back into the scheme. So at this point, there is a shortfall of about $230 million. Like, where did that go?
Where did they go?
Obviously, he's lived a very, very lavish lifestyle, but I don't imagine he's lived that lavishly, like $230 million.
He's spending $23 million a year or something.
Well, I don't know because it's only been going for 5 years. So there's there's $230 million unaccounted for. Remember, we've obviously got the $6 million home, the private jets, the lavish wedding, all of the spending in between, but there is some speculation that has he hidden the money somewhere? Has he got a little offshore account? He's also invested in a lot of films, but we just don't know. After a few months of investigating, all of his scheming and squeaming would come to light, and he would eventually plead guilty to security fraud. So obviously he's not going to make this thing drag out through the court system because, dude,
it's pretty obvious.
You can't get away with this. There's just absolutely no way. Mallory, she files for divorce after all the stuff comes out. Like within a few days, she's done. She's filing for divorce. She still to this day claims she had absolutely no idea. She trusted her husband. She was just reaping the benefits. I mean, it must have been nice for a while, Mallory. All of the joint accounts were frozen, all of the assets, and poor Mallory, she had one account that was just in her name, and that account held a balance of $100. So poor Mallory had to leave Los Angeles. She went back home with her 2 children and $100 because everything was seized by the FBI.
She has gone from riches to rags.
This thing would eventually go to sentencing. There was a courtroom full of people, including some of Zach's victims. One investor, identified as a 64-year-old, lost $1.4 million. They described how they had to come out of retirement to pay for food and shelter. "I cry every day and I've stopped seeing friends or family because of the shame of this financial loss and now have a severe distrust of other human beings." There is another victim wrote, "I'm a mother of a 46-year-old special needs daughter. I will never be able to earn what was taken from me and my daughter, but the emotional damage is even greater." This is just so dark. Another guy, Robert Heaney, he was a screenwriter with 2 children. He said, "I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. My career could hit bumps and we'd be okay. Even after my wife's cancer diagnosis, we were okay. For 15 years, we lived frugally." They lost $1.8 million in the scheme, and for the first time in our lives, we are not okay. And I don't know if we ever will be.
You fuckwit, Zachary.
Honestly, see, this is the thing. It's like these are real people. They weren't just big millionaires investing lots of expendable cash. Zach got an opportunity to speak. And
showtime, baby.
This garbage man got up to give the performance of his lifetime in the hopes that the judge would offer him leniency. Zach stood up, looking nervous. He says, "I became the exact opposite person from who I wanted to be." He wept. He took a moment. "I am destroyed and haunted every day and night by the harm that I have caused others. He asked the judge for leniency in the hopes that he would still be able to spend time with his young children while they were children. Unmoved by this terribly untalented actor, the judge would hand down the harshest sentence, the maximum amount of years, and this piece of poo would be sentenced to 20 years in prison. Obviously, Mallory was not present. His mother and some family members were. I guess it's her son at the end of the day, but seriously, like this guy, far out, the lies.
Oh, wait, what year was that?
2022.
Oh my God, he's only just into his sentence.
So Zach will be 55 when he gets out. But look, in all fairness, sometimes actors really reach their peak when they're in their older years. So there's still hope for you, baby.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh, Lordy. Now,
Insane.
if you would like to watch some of Zach Avery's performances,
Yes.
there are a lot on YouTube. And I will say, as I mentioned earlier, Rainey, I'm not trying to be a hater, but seriously, they are so bad. He is so bad. He honestly is as bad as his critics said.
Let's definitely link some of that on our socials because I am keen for our audience to watch.
Yes. So currently there are some lawsuits, people suing JJMT. There's currently a $770 million lawsuit in damages against the City National Bank in regards to this Ponzi scheme because the lawyers, the victims are saying that it should have been picked up. The exchange of money in the millions and millions. Like, was this dude just sitting at home transferring like $10 million here, $10 million here? This should have raised red flags.
They should have, 100%.
When I started doing some research into this, there are so many articles about Zach and all of his things that he was doing. There was a lot of articles about 1MM, Rogue Black, movies, Latin America, distribution deals. There are articles.
It was out there.
There is articles. So it just goes to show you that literally you can say anything and it will be printed. And it was printed in Variety. It wasn't in some little teenager's blog. Rainey, that is the story of the Hollywood hustler, the $690 million Ponzi scheme, the fake movie deals, the terrible acting. Girlfriend, can you handle this Hollywood crime and scandal?
Hell fucking yes, I can. I cannot handle these poor people, their life savings, and basically their lives being ruined. But I'm sorry, this guy was a fucking genius. Okay, cool. He's in jail for 20 years, but he lived a good life for 5. I will say, yes, it's very sad that these people get sucked into these Ponzi schemes and they lose everything. But I mean, this guy, that was large.
It was large.
That leads me to ask you our famous question, Lily. Can you handle this crime and scandal?
I'm the same as you, loves. Look, it's really terrible because people's lives were ruined, but it doesn't get more Hollywood than this. And I have thoroughly enjoyed studying and researching, and I don't think anyone should run a Ponzi scheme, but
Squim.
Yeah, I can handle the crime and scandal. Just friends, please be careful. If you're investing money, seriously, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. It actually is. It really, really is. So please be careful when you're investing your money, your hard-earned cash, unless it's to our Patreon, which we haven't started yet. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. We love you guys, each and every one of you. We want to do a shout-out to...
Drumroll, please.
Let me just check.
Daniel Francis.
We've never done a shout out to the hubbies.
No, and let's do a shout out to Mark.
Yeah, we'll do a shout out to the hubbies. To be fair, I don't think Mark's about 5 or 6 episodes behind, so I'm not even going to mention that I've mentioned his name. So we'll see how long it takes him to catch up.
That's right.
But thanks for your support, guys. We appreciate you.
And look, Dan, he does some long drives to work and he does a whole catch up. He'll listen to 3 or 4. So we might be a couple of months down the track. We'll see you at Christmas time, boys. But we do appreciate love and support. And Mark, I see you doing the old edit here and there. Lolly is doing a fabulous job, but, you know, when she's lagging behind, we do appreciate it.
You do pick up the slack. So thank you, guys. We love you. And we will see you all next week for another episode. Next week is going to be our Halloween special, and we're going to get gruesome up in this house. So
Ruthless, Rainy is going to be in the house. I'm going to find the most gruesome story I can find for the Halloween special.
I think that's definitely, you've got to do it, love. So strap on in.
Yeah.
We've done no murder this week, so we can get really graphic and gruesome next week. Holy
That's
Lord.
right.
So not for the faint-hearted. All right. Love you, Rainy.
Love you, Lolly.
Bye.
Thanks for your story. Bye.
My pleasure. Bye.